What's up, YouTube? HPJ here, and I'm coming at you guys with a discussion video about hand traps. Um, so I had a fellow member of my Harpie group ask, what hand traps are good with harpies, and bleak answer, practically anything, as long as it's generic, and as long as you can use it in set situation. So it really did lead me to ask that question about hand traps and stuff like that. So I went and looked on, Yu-Gi-Oh! Wiki. Well, I went and looked online, and then it pretty much showed me to Yu-Gi-Oh! Wiki. And, hand traps have been in this game since the beginning. I mean, everybody knows Karibo was the original hand trap. Karibo discarded himself to negate any damage from an attack and reduce it to 0. That really didn't come much apparent till, when Cyberstein OTK, or just Cyberstein's, effect to, hey, waste about, what, more than half of your life points, summon a nice fusion monster, and it had that fusion monster help you bash through your opponent's defenses. The evolution of hand traps, we got stuff like Gores, we ended up getting stuff like Kalut and Honest, who helped arch, yeah, an archetype specific hand traps are attribute specific hand traps, and then you come into, you know, the growth of synchros, and then you have stuff like Shiny C, who blew up a synchro monster that was summoned to your opponent's side of the field. Let's not forget about the Crow, um, who banished stuff from graveyard just to simply stop stuff from activating. And then you had Battle Fader, who pretty much said, "Hey, and we're ending the battle phase if you try to attack directly." Um, and then the real appearance of hand traps finally, flourished and stuff. Of course, with Effect Veiler. If the screen will show her, okay, there she go. Effect Veiler, who was a tuner, hand trap, all in one. Oh, and a light spellcaster, so she worked really well with spellcasters. And she was a tuner, and some synchros, stuff like that. And you know, the generics of hand traps became not apparent because of her, but it just became apparent of the whole genre of what she set off. Then when we entered into Max C, and how broken he became, and it just went from there. And now we're here where we have Ghost Ogre, we have Ash Blossom, Ghost Ogre, and Winter Cherry. Pretty much three of the most powerful hand traps in this game. And for most decks, it's not going to be easy to try to fit all of them into your main deck, which means you'd have to eventually have to side like a set of them, or a set of each into your side deck, just to even have the chance to have to deal with stuff in the current meta. I mean, not saying you don't have options to help you deal with the current meta, but that's pretty much what it looks like. Unfortunately, at the end of 2017, where you look at an entire archetype, you look at a deck that's like Spiral, and it literally spiraled the game out of control, pun intended. And people are now rushing to go get Ghost Ogres and Snow Rabbits and Winter Cherries, just to defend themselves, just to play the game. And I'm not gonna sit here and do that whole bash the game thing. That's not the intent of this video. That wasn't the intent of this video. But this video is pretty much intended to talk about, beneficial beneficial hand traps. So people can say, what hand traps can I use? I mean, of course, most people are gonna scream, get you some Ghost Ogres, get you some Ghost Ogres and Snow Rabbits, get you some Winter Cherries, and get you some Ash Blossoms, and get a Maxi from a structure deck. Like, that's practically what people are gonna say. But it does come to that point where, you still have all these other options of hand traps, and, just don't ever forget where they came from. Now, in terms of countering hand traps, most people counter hand trap by using a hand trap to counter the other hand trap. And we did have like that little field of cards you could use. Like, I think Macro and D-Fisher are probably one of the biggest ones. But most decks need their monsters in the graveyard, and haven't really had a deck in a while that really said manipulated banish. So, or the whole banish aspect of the game since, the whole remove from play sort of style of decks, like the DD Survivors, the, DD Monarchs, Dividend Dimension Monarch, style of play for a very long time. Like, even a little bit after Levier came out, those were pretty much the anti-meta of the game. Till Macro and D-Fisher got hit to one, and then most people who were playing those styles of decks just ended up not playing them anymore. You do have counters to counters, like debunk. There are hand traps, so there are monster effects. So Divine Wrath, you can always call them out with Mind Crush or cards like Drag Down to the Grave. And if your opponent has at least, well, thing is, Drag Down kind of slows it down because they don't have like, I say they do have like a Reaper, an Ash Blossom, and a Ghost Ogre. Like, you're gonna have to choose one of them to deal with. One of them get rid of if you feel it's a threat, and then you still have to deal with the other two, as opposed to Mind Crush, because you can only see what's coming as well, but it's still a trap card, so you still gotta wait for it. But it just brings that whole question of what can you use. I mean, you can practically use anything in that sense, depending on what situation you're going to be in, what situations you're going to come up against. And then you just pretty much have everyone who's screaming the generic setup of get you a Ghost Ogre, a Reaper, Winter Cherries. Oh yeah, get you Ghost Ogre, a set of Reapers, and a set of Ash Blossoms, and a Maxi. And somehow manipulate your deck to where it can fit them in. Which is sad to say when you look at it, but that's kind of what it looks like. And in Harpie's case, like I said, it's kind of hard to fit them in here because, most people, are trying not to lose their entire engine. And I've seen plenty of decks just start losing their engine. Some people had to even come up in card ratios. Like, they've, just say, I'll just add an extra 3 or 4 cards to my deck, to my 40 count, and hope for the best. Or they've cut a good portion of their own section of material to really just use something. It's, this is a sad reality of the game. So I can't really sit here and point someone into the direction of a perfect hand trap. What I can just say is point them into the direction of, say, if you have all these hand traps for all these various options and various situations. There are hand trap exclusives to specific archetypes, specific attributes, and of course you still have your generics. Just to have a feel of that. This very unique sort of term because they don't use it in terms of, hand trap or stuff like that. That's pretty much the player lingo. They're just monsters who activate effects while they're in the hand to, in just a general sense. But, that's the terminology of what it is. It's, they're hand traps. They don't have to actually be traps to be in the hand and be used. There are some who can, because there are traps that can be used for the hand, with, specific requirements and stuff like the hand traps. Those monsters have to be used and required. So, it's just that whole basis. I just wanted to cover that, and I just wanted to be as blunt as I could with the answer. No, and I'm sure the comment section is gonna go screaming mad because I said, use whatever you can. But that's kind of how it is. I mean, if you don't have the ghost ogres and ash blossoms and winter cherries, maxi common, effect veilers common. I think every generic hand trap S card is practically common at this point, except for the big three. So, you know, if you can pick up something like a scarecrow, pick up some faders, some DD crows. Just use whatever you possibly can if it can help you, and just make sure it synergizes with your deck well, and it doesn't offset the balance of your deck. Because I don't want no one to have to sit and scream, I gotta go, spend X amount of this to get this, and then I gotta take out X amount of cards to fit in these, and then it's crazy. But yeah, that's just what I wanted to talk about with you guys, and just put my little opinion out there, and just talk about hand traps and discuss it. So let me know what you guys think. What are your options in terms of hand traps? What do you guys like to use for your hand traps? What suggestions would you give just any player in general about hand traps, and what cards you would recommend them? So thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, HPJ signing out. Take care.